Hey, Brian.
Good afternoon, Sherry. This is the first time I've landed and I'm like in the right place. I'm actually in the I built a podcast studio back
I
here.
know you did.
So
And
and
you're
this is like
actually using it today.
I'm actually in it. Yeah. I got the doors open and so we'll see how that works. If you hear any horses or cows in the background, my neighbors, they have farm animals down there. Sometimes there's a donkey sound, but that's just Abby. No, I'm just kidding. Abby's like, what? What the heck?
I love it. Well, I've sent a message to Laura with the link. So she's never done a space before. So hopefully she will be joining us here in a few minutes. So
Well, that's good. And how's your week going?
it's been a little busy. I just got home from my a little less than 2,000 mile car trip. So I got home.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
got home yesterday. Um, was a great trip. Um, really enjoyed myself, and it was awesome. Went to Cleveland for the first time, and I am so impressed with that city. I can't wait to go back.
That is great. So you 2,000 mile car trip. That had to take a little while.
I left a week ago Tuesday, and I got home yesterday. So, and I never drove more than 7 hours in a day.
That's cool.
So, yeah,
Just see you got to see all the sights along the way and
I take that back. I think one day it was 8 hours. Yeah, so I went to Atlanta to Louisville, stopped at the Horseshoe there, met a friend for that was Tuesday night, Wednesday, left there on Thursday, drove to Lansing, Illinois to pick up my pregnant daughter, some of her favorite ice cream per her request.
oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah,
Where did wait. Where did you pick that up from?
in Lansing, Illinois,
And then
to
where did you take the ice cream to?
Lansing, Michigan.
And how did this work out,
It
Sherry?
was perfect. It was so frozen that we had to let it sit out 6 hours before we could even touch it because I got dry ice. And
Okay.
I did not realize that dry ice like freezes like rock solid, like crazy.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, no, it was perfect. I actually spent $180 at the ice cream and homemade chocolate store. So
And this is why we're friends.
yes, and packed. I had brought a Yeti cooler and picked up dry ice on my way to the ice cream store and picked up the ice cream and the candy she wanted. And I'm a great mom, aren't I? And then drove
That
over to Michigan, to Michigan
that
State.
that is fantastic. So one year I think I mentioned this maybe even last week. I for Christmas, my friends on the East Coast they wanted In and Out, so I individually packed everything and put it on dry ice and shipped stuff back east. It's really funny though. When I was going to send it, the I had the fries. I didn't think the fries would be any good, but I'm like, well, I might as well chuck them in there.
Right.
And my friend threw them in the oven, and he said they were great. He's
I
like,
love it.
"Thank you so much for throwing those in there."
I
It
love it. Well, the
was
Yeti
like,
the dry ice was only supposed to do its job for 10 hours. But I guess because it was a Yeti cooler, it
yeah,
um I actually got there on Thursday and on Friday evening, I wait, was it Friday? Excuse me. No, it was Saturday morning. I actually took the dry ice out and there was still a little less than a third of it left. And the ice cream was rock solid, frozen. It was insane. It was nuts.
And thanks for bringing up our new sponsor, Sherry, Yeti coolers. No, I'm just kidding.
I wish.
There you go. Just send us one
Right?
each, or one, and we'll just send it back and forth across the country. Every other year, we'll exchange it at the World Series of Poker.
Right. And I'm going to tell you that I don't know if you saw the tweet that I put out. You know, my daughter is a Nike shoe fanatic. Well, her assistant coach is a Yeti fanatic. So they actually, for Halloween, her assistant went as a Yeti cup, and
Oh,
my
geez.
daughter went as a box of Nikes. So I posted. I'll have to post it in if I get a
That's
chance in the chat.
that's funny.
It was hilarious. It was
That
absolutely hilarious. Well, I am feverishly trying to get a hold of Laura. Um, I'm sure she's just let the time slip by because she did tweet about it, several times. So, oh, here. No, she's got the wrong time.
she's like, what the heck? Um, yeah. So no Cinderella this weekend. My daughter's done with that. So
Oh, how many shows did it end up being?
21. I saw 23 of them, and just kidding. I
No, I
saw
bet you
I
did.
saw I saw all of them.
Because you got the rehearsals in there too, probably.
Yeah, no, I didn't go to the. I didn't. I purposely didn't want to hear about it or anything. But Sherry, I think that was a bit of a mistake because when my daughter came out in the wedding dress at the end, I like almost jumped on stage and attacked the poor kid that was playing Prince Charming. But you know, he's an all right boy.
Oh,
He's okay. But the guy, they have this phony dad up there. I'm like, why didn't they call me? I would have done that. I would have done the dad role. I didn't know singing. The guy didn't even have to sing or anything. I could have pulled it off, and it would have been believable too.
I loved
So,
it.
yeah. So we did that, and next is going to be I don't know, one of the. What is she, Abby? She's one of the sisters. I don't know. Anyway, I guess it's a good part. So we'll see her doing that next weekend. But that's all.
Hold on a second. There's Laura. There's a mix up in timing. I'm sorry, Laura. Come on, honey. Laura, if you just click on the request in the bottom left, I sent you a request to join us, but it's really easier if you click on that little request button on the bottom left, and then we can approve you to come on up.
You're kind of quiet now, Sherry. I don't know what happened.
Oh, is that better? I'll move my phone.
Maybe it's me. I don't know.
Oh, I haven't done anything differently. Unless my phone's just decided to act crazy. Laura, if you're on a computer, you won't be able to speak to us. You have to be on your telephone. Don't panic. We're not going anywhere. Just take your time.
That's one of the unfortunate things. I'm sitting here. I got the full-on microphone here, Sherry, and
Hello.
can't do it.
You can't use it. Laura, I'm so sorry for the
Oh yeah,
confusion.
no problem. The text said
I'm sorry.
5 p.m. PST. So, but
Yeah, but the problem is when I had originally asked you, we were still doing it at that
got
time.
you.
But Brian's wonderful daughter was starring role as Cinderella in a stage production. So we moved it back because he's been spending weeks at the theater watching Cinderella.
Nice.
So I'm sorry about the
No
confusion.
sweat.
Um,
I'm I'm free and it's all good.
I am sorry, and I'm so happy you could join us because I just think the world of you.
Oh, thanks.
So let me give you a proper introduction. Um, Lara Eisenberg is from Maryland. She is a world record holding skydiver of a 400 member team, which we'll discuss in a minute, a radiologist by trade. Um, she came into my crosshairs, so to speak, as a poker player when she was at the final table and actually won the 2021 WSOP Ladies Event for 115 grand. And she beat Deborah Brooke in a heads up battle that was amazing. I also had two other friends on that table, Diane Cooley and JJ Liu. So it was fun to watch all of the ladies. And it's always a special meaning when you have friends on, that final table live feed.
Absolutely. I wish it was that much money. It wasn't that much, to be fair. It was 116 grand. The bigger score was at the WPT last year.
Oh, wait, but did I not say 115,000? I'm sorry.
I thought you said 415, which sounds delicious.
But yeah, it sounded like I couldn't tell which.
It was 115,000. I'll say it again. I'm sorry.
It was wishful listening on my part, probably.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was going to mention your best live cash was that WPT second place finish last year for 891,216, right?
It was 481, I believe.
Okay. Why do I have these numbers all mixed up today? It must just be my travel fog brain. 891,000 is your Hendon.
That's probably lifetime Hendon, yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. And I'm so sorry. Talk about being miscaboobled this evening. Well, welcome, Lara. We're so glad you're here with us.
Thanks. It's good to be on. Nice talking to you guys.
Please meet Brian. And I see Barry's joined us too. And here in the spaces, people kind of come in and out. And a lot of our folks listen to our recording replay, which is a great feature that Twitter, or as we call it, X now, has for us, right? So, Brian, please meet Lara.
Nice to meet you, Lara. How are you doing today?
Doing great.
Tell us about you. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
So, talk about, I'm a World Series of Poker junkie. I love hearing the stories of people down the stretch on a deep run, and tell us about your win.
The ladies bracelet win?
Yeah.
I mean, it was super exciting. I mean, it's I try, like everybody has I think dreams of trophies and bracelets and things like that. And I don't try to make those goals just because it's so unlikely to have those things happen. Just the stars have to align just right. But yeah, it was just it was one of those things where it just sort of felt like the days kept going by and somehow I was managing to not get eliminated. And I think I ended up getting lucky at the right times, not getting coolered out at the right times. I mean, you just have to be walking that minefield and be really lucky, in addition to not making huge mistakes on your own. But it was really exciting. I hadn't played in a lot of ladies events. It was really fun playing in a ladies event. Everybody was kind to each other. I really liked at the final table too. People were supportive of each other and hugging each other, and just it was having it be live. I didn't even know it was going to be live streamed until the day before, when we got down to the final thing and they said, "Oh, the live stream is tomorrow." And I was like, wow, I didn't even know it was happening. Just focused on the table, but it was so exciting. And even though it was COVID, I had a bunch of friends there, and so it was really cool to be able to just go out with everybody, and we went out and hung out together, and it was really neat.
I got to come rail when you guys were down to 2 tables. I was able to rail for a little bit Um, and I'll tell you, it's just so exciting to see how excited the players are to be in that spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is just so fun to watch. And, whether it's a ladies' event or not, it's just so fun to watch the excitement and people realizing their goals, so to speak, as to making it to the final two or the final table. Very exciting.
Yeah, I mean that's what draws tournament players to tournaments, right? I mean, they're so infrequent, especially live final tables. But to be there, that's why I was really determined to just make sure that I enjoyed every minute. I came in to the final table of the ladies event as the shortest stack, I think. I know there were three of us that were similar, like around 24 big blinds or something. And so even if I laddered up one space, that would be better than I came in at, and I just tried not to get my sights set too high, other than, wanting to not like screw up in the first 30 minutes, ideally, and then just to make sure that I enjoyed every minute of it. Cause, I figured, boy, that'll probably be my last streamed final table, cause they're so rare. And, I was just so lucky to have it happen again. But they're still just really, really rare events to have happen.
So, what kind of prep work did you do the day before you were heading to that?
Well, for the ladies event, it was, we got done, I don't know, like 5 o'clock or something, the night before. And then, it's the next day. So there wasn't like a whole ton of time that was there. I did end up talking with, one of my friends, who's a professional, and we went through a few sims, just kind of looking at the setup and talking about just strategy, just with the stacks, the layouts that they were. And then one of my friends that I study with, like he and I kind of sat down in the morning and just went through different scenarios that could come up in the beginning as, it's really all you can game out is what's going to
Right.
happen at first when stacks are exactly what they are. And then that all just changes in 15 minutes and
Right.
and then it's just, falling back on, work that you've done with ICM and final tables and things like that, so that, you're just sort of falling back on what you know. Um, and that's about it. There wasn't that much time for the WPT event. We made our final six, and then it was 6 days later that we did the final table. So I actually had to fly home and work for a few days and then fly back out. Yeah, because I was like,
Darn, work gets in the way every time.
right? But like, yeah, I mean, you can't plan, that you're going to make a final table
All
and think,
right.
oh yeah, I'm just going to stay out there and hang out, like, no matter what. So, I had to go home and then at the same time prep for that final table. And that was because there was more time, I was able to do a little more elaborate final table prep for that one.
So, are you considering, or have you considered, or have you even done it to like done away with the job thing and gone full time, or no?
No, because like, I mean, honestly, I think it's really an advantage to have a regular job,
I
and
agree.
as a physician, I mean, I like what I do. What I did do is I cut back on how much I work. So after the WIN event, in April, I cut back. So I'm working 7 days on and 14 days off. So that's given me more time to travel, to play a little bit more, to, spend more time with family and stuff. And
Nice.
that's been a really great move. But, the not having to, be stressed about being in makeup or being on a downswing, and like, how, the stress of all of that financially, not having that be so much of a concern is, I think, kind of a superpower. So
Absolutely. It definitely makes poker a more relaxing, fun thing when you're not stressing about all that other stuff.
yeah, exactly. And it's also just, it's a big time commitment, playing any of these live tournaments, or, to play full time live. I mean, you got to be up for doing a whole bunch of travel and staying, in hotels and things like that. And I like it. But I don't really want that to be my whole life either. So I like, hitting the tournaments I feel like, playing. And obviously the World Series, I play a bunch. And now the WIN, is kind of become the Winter World Series.
Right.
So those two are kind of like, the push the pins, the big pins on the calendar that I'm going to not miss, and then it just sort of whatever works out.
I think it's a great way to approach it. I firmly believe that a healthy, balanced life first, and then poker is second, right? And
Hmm.
I think it helps with burnout too. And I help, the downswings, you still have that support system in place. You could take the breaks you need. I love that. I love what you're doing and your philosophy.
So thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that like it's is full time right for some people. It absolutely can be,
Sure, sure.
but it's tough. Poker is getting tougher as it's easier to learn strategy with all the new software and everything that's out there. So
And there are plenty of full timers that love every minute of it. And hats
hmm.
off to them.
Exactly.
Hats off to them. It's just not the business model that is for me. You know,
Hmm.
it
Yep.
just isn't, and I don't think it ever would be.
Well,
Yeah, I
So
think
it's a
one of
much
the
more it's a much
sorry,
more
go ahead.
difficult road than most people, think from the outside. Um, look at Ari last week. How many tournaments, Sherry? 5,000 tournaments.
he had, what did I say? It was just under 500. What did I say it was? I counted how many tournaments he had. It
It was
was
an
like,
absurd number. I
it
think it was like
was,
5,000 because
wait,
he was
I'll look,
saying
I'll
You
pull it
guys are talking about Ari Fleischner?
Ari
Ari
Engel.
Engel.
Oh, I mean Ari Engel. I don't Fleischner. Ari
Yeah,
Engel. Yeah, I mean, well, he was living just like on the road and just
yeah,
playing all the time, right? I don't know if that's still the case,
yeah.
but
Still,
he's like the
he
poster
hasn't had
child
a
for full time.
yeah he hasn't had an apartment or
Home.
a house in like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Just
still the same.
constantly
But
on the road.
yeah, I mean, but
Just
I love him, and he's like the kindest, like
very
nicest
kind.
guy. Amazing.
Very kind and humble, and you never want him on your left because he is just very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, he is, but he's also like he's not. I don't find him to be like an absurdly aggressive player. I think he's just extremely, extremely good, and he's appropriately aggressive, but not like crazy maniac aggressive in that way.
Yeah, well, he's going to put a lot of pressure in spots where you're uncomfortable.
Mm,
So,
Okay, he has 305 WSOP caches,
absurd.
120, no, 185 circuit, and 120 at the WSOP. So 305 total.
that's crazy.
Laura, can you
Um,
imagine that? Like, it sounds like you go out to the World Series and play a pretty full schedule, right?
Yeah, I've like this year was the most that I played. Usually, like in the past, I'd always gone out for like 9 days or something like
Yeah,
that. And then 2 weeks, and then this time I actually went out for 3 weeks. But I don't like I can't be off work to go
yeah.
out and hang out for the whole series or anything.
So after 3 weeks, were you like ready to be home?
Yeah, the thing is that I like to go and stay at the venue in general,
Yeah,
and like 3 weeks in a hotel like starts to kind of suck. Like
yeah,
you start like losing kind of your touch on reality, in that like you don't even like, is it Tuesday? And is it Sunday? Like, what even day is it? And trying to do laundry in your room but
yeah.
I think if you're going to go out for longer, like staying in an Airbnb or, sharing a house with somebody is like, that's the play. And then you can, do it a little bit longer. And then I think if you were going to do 3+ weeks, it's probably better to be planning in like days off that you're taking for sure and that kind of thing. um, you know
So I used to have a house in Vegas,
Nice.
and I would go for, most of the series because I could work from there too in between and things like
Hmm.
that. But by the end, it was like time to come home. Now, I think it would be a little bit better. See, back then, I had this thing I didn't really want to hang out with poker people. Like I viewed everybody as like the worst kind of example of who, and since then I've actually met a lot of really great people. Um, but I think that was it for me. Like if I did that now, it would be a lot better. But now it's kind of like what you said, like I'm typically in a hotel-ish kind of thing. I guess
Hmm.
I'd say sometimes we do different types of things depending on what we're doing when we're staying there. But staying in a hotel definitely gets old
It
very
gets
quick.
old for
Yeah.
sure. So does
Yep.
that restaurant food. It gets old. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Can we pivot for a minute, Laura? And can you tell us a little bit about the world record skydiving team record?
Sure,
This is
sure. Yeah.
crazy.
So I was a skydiver for, I think it was like 23-ish years or something like that before I quit. And I haven't been jumping since, I think it's been 5 or 6 years now. But so I competed in skydiving in 4 and 8 person competitions that it'll be hard to like describe in a verbal format. But apart from that, there's large formation records, and it. So I was on some women's records. I think the largest that we did was like two. Was it 157 or something person is I think the largest women's record, but I may be remembering it wrong. But then the largest altogether record was 300, which we did in Arizona in like 2000, 2003 maybe. And then they broke it in Thailand with a couple different records. And then they planned the 400 person record, which we did in 2006, I think it was. And that was just really exciting. And that, it's the logistics that make the records really difficult to do. It's not that the skydiving itself is that difficult. I mean, it's not easy, but it took 5 C-130s
Wow.
to put up 400 jumpers, and all the people who were on it were people that had thousands of skydives and had been skydiving forever and doing a lot of large formation skydiving. And so we were there 3 weeks to set the record. So like we flew into Bangkok and then we got flown to this air base in northern Thailand. And the king basically allowed us to have 5 C-130s and crew to do it. And it was part of the 50th anniversary of the king's ascendancy to the throne. And so it was all kind of rolled into this royal sky celebration. And so it was like the introduction of the new Bangkok airport. We did like this huge mass jump into that. And then it was this record thing, which, for us, none of us could be, if we had to each foot our bill for like what our portion of this record cost, there's no way that you get the
Right.
skydivers to do it. Like I think I paid $2,200 for 3 weeks, which included a lot of my meals, and not my airfare. But it's just the fuel alone of flying C-130s in formation at 25,000 feet. I mean, it's ridiculous. So yeah, but it was.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. So there's a whole bunch of days of just the center 100 people practicing, being able to come together reliably. And then those of us on the outside kind of have these weed whacker lines of people that have to plug in on the outside. And then once the 100 way could come together, then we would start doing jumps with all of us and it was like the 13th attempt that we got it on. And it was just really cool. So, we were in this 100,000 person town in Thailand, and everybody was going out and partying at night and hanging out. And it's people from all over the world that and it was
That
just,
is amazing.
yeah, it was really cool.
That's a great story. Congrats on that. That is just amazing.
Now
I love that.
I gotta know, do you get nervous when you jump after jumping so many times, or
Well,
can't
you're not
imagine?
nervous. You're not nervous, like worried that you're going to just die on the jump in and of itself.
Yeah,
Jumping out of C-130s is kind of no joke. Like that was a little nerve-wracking in that they can't slow the planes down that much for exit. So you've probably seen, these military transport planes like C-130s, they have a ramp on the back.
yeah.
Is how they load them. And so that's how, you're going in rows of four, running out of these planes, together in a mass group. And,
Wow.
as you are going out, there's kind of this dead air that because the plane's blocking the wind.
Yeah.
And as soon as you get past that, you get hit by this jet blast, and you're
Oh,
going like 150 miles an hour forward, where the plane is. And then so if you don't hit the air just right, people were getting like thrown all over the place into each other. And that to me, that was the most dangerous part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so I would jump out of that plane and just ball up with my hands in front of my face, and trying to not get hit by anybody. And then after
Wow.
that, like you would just be diving down at the thing, because I was one of the last people out of the plane. And so by the time you get out, even though it's only been, say, 7 seconds or something, the thing that's forming, the group of people that's forming is, way below you, hundreds of feet below. And so you have to go head down and dive at it and follow the people in front of you in a line. So you're diving and closing in on a formation that's going 120 miles an hour, but you're going 200 miles an hour, diving down and following a line of people in front of you. And so that part, once you're past the initial part, there's that. And then, when you're done, when the formation has either happened or, you have to break it off, you have to fly, everybody has to fly in groups away from it and then spread out. And you have to start that process up really high, so there's enough safe space to do it. And so like I was leading a group of people tracking away from it. And our group would always go straight over the city of Udantani, where we were. And so then you're opening up at like 2,000 feet, and then you're just like over a city, and you have to figure out a place to land every time. And so that part also was kind of nerve wracking. So like some of us we were landing in the backyard of a school. We landed once at a driving range, and there's power lines and stuff around. So you have to just kind of have your head together and, make a plan pretty quick. So that part's kind of nuts too. But
you don't think about
awesome
power
as
lines.
this story is, I'm out.
Yeah, it's not for most people.
I just watched some people do like ballooning one time, hot air balloons, and I was like, no thanks,
Yeah, well, ballooning is pretty cool. But yeah, stuff can still go wrong with that too.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of were like on the team, and actually, I was out in Vegas, and we would go out there and spread out the balloon and everything, and then when they land, I didn't like they don't have a lot of control over where they're going. They a little bit, but like toward the end, it's like they're gonna come down in some point, and sometimes it was in the middle of the road or a little side road, and sometimes it was in the bushes, like that's crazy.
Well, those are two things that I've always had on my bucket list: hot air ballooning and skydiving. And I don't know, I may have checked those off the list. I'm just saying, as I get older, I don't know.
Well, going and doing a tandem jump just to experience it is pretty low risk. And it's, I think, worth it. So
it's in the back of my head. I would say probably 15, 20 years ago, it was probably something I was pressing towards, but of course kids get in the way.
For sure.
And now it's probably going to be one of those things, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going for it kind of thing. You know what I mean?
There you go. Yep.
Tell us, if you will, Laura. Well, first of all, I want to do a rapid fire. I love to do this with our guests because it's just kind of fun. But I'm going to just let you know ahead of time that I had to adapt one of the questions for our female guests, because I always ask our male guests. So I think it'll be easy to identify the question when you hear me ask it. So,
fair enough.
I'm going to say rapid fire. And the first is, limit or no limit?
No limit.
Margarita or wine?
Ooh, that's tough. Wine if it's Sauvignon Blanc, but if it's a frozen margarita, I'm in.
Oh, me too. Especially if it's from Javier's. Maryland Live or Vegas?
Oh, that's tough too. I mean, Vegas for the WSOP, but Maryland Live the rest of the year.
Okay. Granny panties or thong?
Oh, is this the question that is different?
Boxers or briefs?
Thong?
Live poker or online poker?
Live.
Burger or pizza?
Pizza.
Oh, lady after my own heart. Thank you for humoring me.
Absolutely.
Now tell us, what's your next poker series? Is it going to be the WPT, or are you going to do something before that?
No, it's WPT. So I'm going out. I'm going to fire like one bullet at the mystery bounty. I haven't gotten to play in a mystery bounty, so that'll be my warm up, and then the WPT Prime, and then the big one. So
Love it. I hope I get to see you there. I passed you last year. I was coming out of the filming room, and you were going in, and I just
oh
briefly
yeah,
stopped you and said hello. But hopefully, maybe we'll get a picture
yeah,
this
yeah.
time for
I remember.
sure.
Yeah, that was crazy. Um, that whole thing, like you don't like. I'm not that used to being filmed or on TV, so we had that whole like schedule that day and stuff. The WPT just did a really amazing job, like the whole production of everything.
Yes, I
You
was
know,
so impressed. I'm not so sure I like the gatekeeper at the live table. It's kind of nice. I think at the WSOP, you could just walk up whenever you want to and go watch the live, tables.
mm,
But WPT did an excellent job of hosting it at the Win last year. I
yeah.
loved it.
I mean, they did that whole like halftime show thing with like the drummers and all that stuff. And because at first I was just like, oh man, is this going to be something like super hokey? But then I was like, no, it's super fun. And they had like the glow in the
Yes,
dark bracelets and people, the giving away stuff. And you're just like, wow, man, they went for it.
they did, and they nailed it and hit it out of the park.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, to me, like one of my pet peeves is at the WSOP is that they don't have a reasonable system in place for like when you're an alternate. Like
Yes,
standing in line. I stood in a 4-hour line
horrible.
this year.
Yep,
I mean, it's ridiculous, like an animal. And, like it's not like they have to invent it or figure out like how you handle it. Like everyone else does it. You just get an alternate, you're alternate. Like I almost didn't fire the fifth bullet last year at the WPT Prime because I was like, it was going to be a last minute late reg as it was. So it was going to be like right before they closed registration for the last flight. And then the line, because they had underestimated the volume, I knew it would be at least a 2-hour wait, even then, before I would sit.
right.
So I'm like, man, I'm going to get in with like, I don't know, 17. I think I got in with like 17 big blinds. And
And they
so I
know
just,
too. They know how long. Like they should take your cell phone number when you check in and then give you
at
a
the
half hour
WPT, at the
notice.
WSOP you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, what do they do at the other venues?
Right. So at WPT, it was perfect. It was great. Like I I went ahead and fired another $1,100 at it. They give me the thing. It says your alternate number 1,200. They're calling 600. So first of all, you can just go somewhere else for a while.
Yeah,
But they would just on Twitter, it would just say like we're now serving numbers 600 to 799. And if you're not in that group, don't even be in the room. And then they were just going in order. So 600, 601, 602. So there's
Yeah.
no standing in line. There's no doing anything. You just like wait until they're getting around to calling your number, and then you go hang out by the desk and then give you your seat. End of
oh,
story. And it's not.
okay, wait a minute. Am I hearing correctly that you bought in and you had 17 big blinds and you ended up in second place in that tournament? Is that the
Yes, ma'am.
tournament?
That is the one.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, I
Talk
was
about the
debating it.
stars and the moon aligning or what?
It was ridiculous. And yeah, and I was grinding a short stack for hours before, I didn't like get in and just like immediately flip it. I
Right.
was just grinding a short stack for hours and then eventually just start building up a stack, and it was just, kind of just grinding away. So,
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, it was crazy. I was debating it because there was like something else going on over at like Resort World where you could like win a trip to the Bahamas or something. I'm like, I probably have a better shot over there. I shouldn't do this. And somebody's like, $5.5 million prize pool. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Here's another $1,100. I'm such a fish. And then that's
And $481,000 later, she's
yep,
buying her own ticket to the Bahamas.
that's right. That's
Oh,
exactly what we did. We went to the Bahamas.
that's amazing.
That was
Oh, that is
funny.
the best story I think I've heard. What, fifth bullet or sixth bullet did you say?
Fifth bullet.
Fifth
Yeah. So I
bullet.
was in for 5,500.
Oh, I love it. What a great story.
But they're going to be ready for it this year, I think. Now they know it's going to be a similar volume. They're going to have more tables, more dealers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be as, the long waits to get back in.
Right. But you're right. They were very organized and communicated well with that wait list for sure
It
at
was
the
so great.
WBC. Yeah. Because I even remember seeing the tweets and I was like, oh, they're rolling along with the numbers and keeping everyone informed. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like I get it. Sometimes there can be long lines for getting back in. Just don't make me stand in a line in a hallway for hours. Like that's silly.
Right. Right. Especially everybody's on Twitter. It's so easy to make a post. We're on number
Right.
600 to 650 right now, or whatever the hell it is.
Exactly. Do the same thing at the Venetian.
Yeah.
You just get a number and then that's it.
And meanwhile, you can go get a snack, go to the ladies' room, whatever.
Right.
Go sit down
Like
in a chair, take a nap, set your alarm.
that's right. Baskin Robbins did this years ago. It's not like it's complicated.
Yeah,
You
I'm
get your
not
number and then you get your ice cream.
right.
So
I am
Right.
going to send Jack an email and make a recommendation that they resolve that because I think
it has to be.
you are right 100%.
And there's no need. I mean, I stood in that alternate line myself last summer and I was cursing like, oh my God, why didn't I ask if I was an alternate? Because they didn't even tell me I was an alternate until I started walking away. And she was like, oh, by the way, you're an alternate. I was like, oh, well, how many behind? Oh, 200 and whatever. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I mean, I really regretted it. Then but you don't know what's going to happen. Like, so you just, otherwise you wouldn't stand there in that line. Like I wouldn't have stood in a line. If you told me up front it's going to be a 4-hour line, I would just forget it. I would have unregistered and gone and done something else. But
Exactly.
yeah, so it's silly, but
And it's so unnecessary.
right,
Honestly, it's so unnecessary and there's such an easy fix. And hopefully
exactly.
Brian
And it
can.
costs nothing. It's
Right.
not like it's a monetary investment. You just print out a number.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Brian, you're on the case with Jack on that one, brother.
Jack and Kev Math.
Yeah,
right.
Kevin Meth.
I'll give a
But
testimonial.
yeah, but Jack's the one that can get it done, I think. It blows my mind every year, you're just sitting there, why? And the other thing too is it probably hurts like the numbers quite a bit. People don't want to stand in a 4-hour line, Like I know there were times where I wanted to fire another bullet, but I was like, I'm not gonna. This year, actually, I bust out and I went to lunch or something and then came back and bought back in because I was just like, I don't want to deal with that. Or I bought in, can't remember. I think you can buy in and then just like get in line whenever. So I think I bought in. No, I waited to buy in because I wasn't sure that I wanted to see what the line was going to be like before I did that.
I mean, if you think
So
about it, like if you just let me buy in, and I know by the numbers that's going to be 3 or 4 hours, that's fine.
yeah,
If I'm choosing to do that, I'll go to lunch and spend money in your casino,
Yes.
right?
the
But I don't.
Yes.
Instead, I
crazy
had to
thing,
stand in a
Laura.
line in a hallway and get yelled at by security because I wasn't allowed to sit. I had to stand because I'm a fire hazard. Like that's just
Laura, they
ridiculous,
know the numbers. I mean,
right?
they don't know maybe how many people are going to show up, although they could change the system to say, hey, like when you need to be there by the time your number comes up. But I guess that would change all the other kind of stuff too, like people that bought in advance or whatever. Although I guess those people have a
Well, I mean, I
seat,
think
right?
if
So
you're number 700, and by the time you get back up there, they're calling 800 or 900 or whatever, you could go right to the front of the line and go get your seat.
sure, sure.
And that's that. It's just like you just go in order.
Yeah. They
Yeah,
they
we
could
don't
do it.
have to overthink it.
They could do it
Right.
with a little cushion or something like that too, like I just think that it'd be really good if they knew roughly, right? Like they give you your thing and you're 200 seats out. They pretty much can tell as long as most of those people are going to show up how long that's going to take.
Yeah. But
Well,
even if
and
they
if
don't give
they
you an
just,
estimate,
yeah,
put it
Yeah,
out on Twitter.
if
Yeah.
you just
yeah,
tweet, we're
or
on
that.
numbers 100 to 120 right now, I can say, okay, I'm still 250 away. So I've got at least a half an hour before I need to check back.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, they already do it at the Wynn, and they already do it
Yes.
at Venetian. It's like it's a solved problem.
Yeah.
So,
It's not that complicated.
nope,
I'm surprised they don't give like just not do Twitter, right? But like just give the information to the pit boss at the in the pits so that you have to go play table games to know when you're up.
right?
Or
That's the other thing because I could just some people could just go to the pits and spend a bunch of money while they're waiting for their seat to come up. I mean, it's short-sighted.
It's
for
very
sure.
short-sighted. Very short-sighted.
Well,
So,
So
whatever they're going to do, I mean, chances are they're not going to leave the property, so they're going to do something
that's
other
right.
than stand in line, which is there's not many other things that people can do that aren't going to generate additional revenue. So it's really
Exactly.
short-sighted.
Yep.
last week we talked to Maureen Bloklinger, who loves to chase flags. Making it into the money in a different country, right? So,
Uh-huh.
how many countries have you cashed in, Laura?
Well, I've actually only played in I went to Amsterdam last spring. I didn't cash in any tournaments that I played in. I played in, I don't know, two or three while I was there. But I played there and it was really fun. But that
I
was the
love
first time I played
Amsterdam.
out of country.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
I like that. Interesting. But you're living in an area because you're outside of DC, if my memory serves me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're, in an area that has lots of good poker rooms around you. You're
That's
lucky.
right. Yep. Yeah. No, very lucky. And the Maryland Live's great, MGM's great. We have really high guarantee regular tournaments that happen every month. So that's I don't have to travel to get great poker, and that's really lucky.
And see, I'm the opposite. I live in Georgia. There's no legal poker here, so I have to always
Oof.
travel to get poker.
Yeah, that's
Um,
hard.
and I'm going to tell you, I went to Cleveland for the first time last week, and I am so impressed with Cleveland. I'm just amazed that I am. But and I don't know why, because I didn't really have any preconceived notions. I'm originally from Chicago, so I really didn't have any preconceived notions, but I was so impressed with that city. It is so clean. Um, and the poker room at Jack's Cleveland Casino is very well run. And I'm going to give them a little plug because I love what they do for the seniors events.
Hmm.
I was there for the Run Good series and I played the
Mm-hmm.
seniors event, and they give away at that seniors event, they gave away 600 or no, $3,000 in $500 increments to hot seats. So they gave
Oh,
away,
that's fun.
yeah,
Yeah,
six, you know, hot seats throughout the tournament. And I was told they do that for every seniors event. So they do a monthly seniors event, they do hot seats. And I was like, you know what? That is such a great perk for the locals.
that's
Um,
cool. Because you always get screwed at regular casinos because you don't get to be in the high hands. So it's kind of makes up for
exactly.
that.
Exactly. And they do it during the tournaments. I was like, this is how you run a poker room.
That's really neat. I grew
Yeah.
up about 40 minutes from Cleveland. It did not have the reputation as being the clean city that you have
I'm going to
seen.
tell you something. I didn't see one I was there for 3 days. I did not see one homeless person. And I was in the city at different times of day, 2 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I did not see one homeless person. And I was like, okay, one of two things. They either have their acts together and have great sheltering system for the homeless, or they're busting them out somewhere
They're sending
because,
them to Georgia.
yeah, probably because it's warm
That's
here.
nice and warm. Yep.
Exactly. Um, and the latter, I would be disappointed, but I hope that it's because they have a great system to help those that are needed in need. Excuse me.
I hope
Um,
so too.
but I was so impressed. I can't wait to go back. I mean, I'm
That's
telling you
awesome.
right now, I cannot wait to go back. But again, you're lucky to have them all around you. I'm not so lucky, and Brian's lucky too. He's in California.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
So he has a lot of choices.
Where
Although
in California?
Southern California, yeah. We have a lot of different options, but I like to play in Vegas. I mean, honestly, like the thing is, people in Vegas, they're on vacation,
Mm.
and I just don't like the vibe a lot of times. I've been wanting to go out to Hustler to see, Nick and all those people to see, because I haven't really been out there since they've been doing their thing, and I really do like Nick and all of them, um, but I don't really play out here a lot. I like to go to Vegas and play. People are just there for a good time, and they're not there on their last dime. It's just I've had some
Mm.
really weird, not so good experiences out here. Ellie Alezra, Sherry wins the $5,300  8-game mix at the NAPT. So
Oh, congratulations to
Nice.
him.
yeah, one of the good guys for sure. Played with him probably a couple times. He's just a super nice guy. Just very, very funny. He's always got a smile on his face,
He
honestly.
does. And he,
That's great.
that's awesome. I love to hear that. Laura, do you like to play any of the mixed games?
I have not. Just, since I have less time maybe to play than a lot of, at least compared to full-time people. So I try to just stick to one thing.
Right.
Mainly. I mean, I do play when I play online. I play PKOs, and that sort of thing. So bounties can be fun, but I haven't branched out. I haven't played PLO, other than once in a while playing online and accidentally clicking on the wrong thing, and suddenly I'm like, "Whoa, 4 cards! What's happening?" But no, I've
I've done
kept
that
it
online
vanilla.
too, and I'm so mad at myself when I do that.
But it's great if you actually end up winning the freaking thing. So I've played Heads Up Omaha a couple of times where I'm just like, man, I don't know. I'm just going to play it like Hold'em and hope for the best. So I'm like unpredictable because I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I think I can only use 2 of my cards. I don't know.
You're the
So,
worst nightmare of an opponent because
right.
then you get beginner's luck because you're really thinking about what you're doing.
My
Exactly. Or just
buddy,
have no clue. So I'm just like random and I don't care. Right.
my buddy Johnny backs his first bracelet, like of all like well-known guy, no limit hold'em, played tons of tournaments with him. What does he win his first bracelet in? Like 7 card stud. He
Nice.
accidentally registered, didn't know how to play. He goes out to the parking lot and gets some kind of like instruction from somebody and goes on to win his first bracelet.
That's
Like,
awesome.
just absurd. Take that, all you sim
I think
perfectionists.
Jen
Hmm.
Harmon do that for a tournament too? She went out to the parking lot. I think Jen Harmon did that with some tournament,
I
and
think you're
somebody gave
right.
her a quick lesson in whatever the game was, and she went back in. I don't know if she won it or just did really well, but I'm pretty sure she did the same thing.
There was
No,
another person that happened to too. I think it may have even been Omaha that they like registered and were like, "Oh, whoa, what?" And they were like reading on their phone, like, "How do you play?" And braceleted it, and
I
you're like,
love it. That
phenomenal.
is just the success story. Like you fire in 5 bullets and come into it 17 big blinds, and all of a sudden you're in second place for, nearly a half a million. The
Yeah, I
success
mean,
stories.
this is why there's money in poker.
I love it.
nothing better than that. You're sitting there, you're like, do I fire another bullet? you
Yeah,
know, and it's
And to,
that last bullet sometimes.
and to be considering going somewhere else to a different venue to play, and then just stay here and go for it one more time. That's
yeah,
What's
it
that
was
little
amazing.
one
crazy.
for one drop every year? It was like the last event. And there were so many times, Sherry, that I was like, okay, this is my last bullet. And then the series is over. And a couple times where okay, one more. And turned those into some decent caches that made up for all the mulligans.
Yeah,
Well,
right. It was also the same thing like when it was over, especially over at the Rio. Like you bust. I think one of my bigger caches early on, I had played the main event, busted. And you're like so frustrated, especially if it's early in the day. You're like, man, I just want to go bash somebody up. And you're like, I'm going to hop in the daily, right?
Yeah.
And you're like hopping and sitting at your 10-person table in the daily tournament, which is just like such a crazy thing. And then end up like running up the stack because you're just like, "Rah." ready to just.
How
Yeah,
many
my
times have you played the main event, Laura?
I think probably 5 times. I have 0 cashes in the main event.
What's the deepest you've gone?
Day 3 before the money. Like I've done that a couple of times where I'm within a few hours of the bubble, but not like on the stone bubble or anything. But a lot of times it's just been uneventful. Like I busted 2 times ago. I busted day 1 where we just got it all in pre-flop, and I had a set and he had a flush draw and hit. And then this time I actually ended up getting it in with like 60 big blinds on day 2 with pocket aces in a 5-bet pot against ace king offsuit, and it runs out of 4 flush and I'm done.
Oh,
And it was like, well, that was a fun 10K.
that was fun.
But
ugh, so sick.
I would be world champion if the goal was to get, like within a couple hundred of the money or so. Like I've done that so many times. It's just
yeah, it was exciting this year because it was like the anniversary thing that one person was going to get like main event seat for life. I was like, oh man, I want that.
What a great giveaway, right?
Yeah, I thought
Totally.
that should have been the bubble, and they should have just not said anything, and then
Yeah.
like the bubble person gets the seat. That would have been
Yeah, it would be neat to not say anything at all and just say one lucky person is going to get it, and we'll announce it after we're in the money, and then that is who it is. That would be like the Willy Wonka move.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do that. For surely. And then how they did it, I think the people like all the energy was gone by that point. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
if you remember, they told us they were going to do it. Brian and I did a daily coverage in the spaces about a daily WSOP space. And if you remember, Brian, they told us they were going to do a drawing on this day. And then that day came, they said, oh, it'll probably be this day. And then that day came, and then they said, oh, it'll probably be this day.
Yeah.
And so by the time they finally did the drawing, people were like, oh, they did the drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah, people were over it. Yeah.
It was like anticlimactic.
It totally was. And it was unfortunate because I don't know. I just think that and then it was something about before they could announce it, they had to verify the person was going to take it or whatever. So it was very anticlimactic. But
Yeah, listen, anybody in the main event was going to take it.
yeah,
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. Like, who's doubting that? Like, why would anybody doubt that, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So what do? You're on the bubble, and you know that's going to be the thing. Do you go for it and try to get into like a 20-person pool for the main event seat for life? I think if you're short stacked, right, it'd probably be, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. I mean, it probably depends on your own individual age, but I think, I would just be like, great, let's just get it in. If I was short stacked.
Yeah, it would have definitely changed play if people knew that.
Because you're playing for like at least whatever 200K or something.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
What a great prize! I mean, whoever thought of that, they really came up with a great idea. Honestly.
Well, and that's kind of like with the satellites, how it used to really be is like, if you win a satellite and you have the option to take the 10 grand, then you may or may not play. But if that option has been taken away from you, now you're going to play, I actually liked that there's like, kind of like, if you win it, you're playing, like, so you didn't have to explain to anybody why you're playing. I was in for $15.50 one time, so I was in, and that's it, But think about that. If you're in for $15.50 and you have the option of taking 10 grand, it is probably a little irresponsible to not take the cash.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably would agree with that. Laura, tell us any advice you would give to any level of player to improve their game.
Wow. I mean, it's a big question, and it totally depends on what someone's available time is, what their available money is, and I guess what their goals are really. So I mean, if somebody has a full-time job and they have, a small amount of money to invest, I mean, I just think there are so many educational sites now, from beginning level stuff up to the most to the highest level things. There's definitely no one simple answer for everybody, and I think the most important thing in poker really is to figure out like why are you there? Like, what do you want to do? Because not everybody wants to try to become the very best player that they can be. Some people just want to enjoy the game and have fun, and they want to learn some and they want to improve, but they're not, they don't want to be investing, 10 or 20 hours a week studying, and that's fine. I think, if you're only going to invest, an hour or two a week studying a game, you also can't simultaneously expect that you're going to be the best in the world. Doesn't mean that you're not going to win tournaments, and things like that here and there. But it's also fine. I think you just have to have realistic goals and expectations for yourself, commensurate with the time and money you're willing to invest.
Great advice. Great perspective, because I think some people get out of whack with that sometimes. You get out what you put in, right? Like all things in life, you get out what you put in.
But and I think it's also just fine. Like, sometimes, for poker, it for some people, it's just they want to go blow off some steam and have fun, and the allure of maybe running up a stack or whatever is really fun, and they don't really want to spend a lot of time studying the game. That's perfectly fine.
Right.
Just totally. Understanding yourself and what you want to do and why is important. But it's so easy now to learn the game in less time than ever with all the tools and sites available. I mean, you can, I'm an ambassador for Poker Academy, and, they have, it's incredibly easy to learn your ranges, and to look up spots and things like that with tools like that. And, there's, I'm with BBZ, we have high level seminars, and they have incredible tools available, but there's lots of different, sites from, just paying money to buy a course or getting, something that has constantly renewing and adding to content, like a pokercoaching.com, that kind of thing. Like there's just, if this stuff had all been there when I first started, you'd just be like, wow, you could learn so fast.
It's amazing how much content is out there. Mm-hmm. It really is.
It's overwhelming.
It's almost like you're stumbling over so much of it, which is a great thing, honestly. And of course, it's all how people learn too. Like some people, prefer one teacher or coach over another, just in the delivery of the information. And, and it's great that there's so many options out there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
It really is. Brian, you have any other questions, bud?
No, just I keep thinking about that Abby and I were watching this the other day, this skydiving joke where these three people are on the pilot comes out and he goes, the plane's gonna crash, so he jumps out. He says there's 4 passengers, 3 parachutes, and he jumps out, and then they're like, what do we do, and so the first guy is Messi. He says, I'm the greatest soccer player, so I need one of them. He takes one and jumps out. And then the second guy, let's not make this political, was a politician. Just picture your least favorite politician, whichever side you're on. He picks up one and he jumps out. And now this little boy and the Pope are left. And the little boy says to the Pope, well, actually the Pope says to the little boy, look, you're young and I've had a full life, so you go ahead and take the last one. And he says that the little boy says, it's okay, the politician grabbed my backpack, so there's 2 left.
That's amazing. Laura, are there any players out there that you look forward to having as an opponent one day?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think that there's definitely people that are just, legends in the game they're oftentimes not people I'm really looking forward to having at my table because they're good. But I've I've played a table with Phil Hellmuth before. It'd be fun to be at a table with like a Negranu or folks like that. But I think, for me, it's like, obviously, like if you get to pick your table mates, you want people to be less skilled, not more so. But when, the times when I am at table with, really skilled players, you just try to say, hey, this is a learning opportunity. I'm gonna, not gonna sit and try to go out of my way to get involved in things to try to bust a pro or do things like that. More, let's just see, if there's things that I can learn and pick up from, these people who've really been around and are skilled. And that's how I look at it.
Do you have a favorite story about any player that you've had as an opponent?
Let me think of one that's actually good and appropriate for the show.
We don't care if it's inappropriate.
Well, I will say, I think one of my funnier moments that I've had happen in poker was, I think we were on day 2 of the main event, and I had Phil Hellmuth at my table, another, I think it was Statsco pro at my table, and then the kid immediately to my right was, I think, Eastern European, but clearly spoke no English. And he got into a huge hand with Phil and ends up making a big bet on the river or a jam. And Phil debates for a while, and eventually he folds, and the kid shows a bluff and shows him the cards. And so Phil is yelling at him and telling him, now I've seen your face, and you're never going to be able to bluff again. And everybody thinks it's funny. They want to bluff me, and is just yelling at him. And the kid is looking at him with this blank look on his face because you can tell he doesn't understand anything that Phil's saying. And he waits patiently for Phil to stop, and then he says, it's like he memorized this for the trip, and he says, "It has been my dream to bluff you." And Phil was so pissed, and he's like steaming and his face is red. And the very next hand, the kid does it again and shows the bluff again. And Phil took his phone and like threw it across the table, and it had been plugged in, and like the cord went like end over end, and then he just got up and kind of went storming around the Amazon or Brazil or whatever room we were in. And the kid is just laughing. It was like the kid just did not give a shit. He just wanted to get to bluff Phil Hellmuth, and he did. And to him, it's like it was like his dream come true. He just was, and it was just hilarious. We were all just dying.
That's amazing. This kid didn't care if he was winning or losing. He had the story to go home that he beat and tell that he beat him by bluffing him 2 hands in a row.
That's right. And Phil gets that happening to him, because he, can go off and blah, blah, blah. And he gets people wanting to bluff him. I did the same thing he, for some reason, came to a circuit event in Baltimore when Baltimore was still doing circuit events. And I don't know why he was there, but in the circuit main event, we had been on the bubble like forever and ever. And I was a short stack and had like 17 or 20 big blinds or something. And he had a big stack, and the guy to my left had a big stack, and they both were taking turns raising and getting to enjoy the bubble. And I just decided, because every time I was a small blind, the big stack was in the big blind and Phil was across the table. So I knew Phil was going to raise again. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to just jam blind because he's raising so wide. And so it folded around to me. I pretended to look at my cards and I jammed. And the other big stack folded, and Phil debated and debated. And he's like, are you trying to bluff me? Because everybody thinks it's, so funny to bluff me and they want to bluff me. And I said, yep, I've been sitting here folding for 20 minutes on the bubble so that I can bluff you. And he immediately folded and sold an ace. And I was like, whew, and I looked and I had Jack 4 off. And I was like, sweet. But it just shows you, I wasn't a very experienced person, but I was like totally sucked into like I want to be, I want to bluff him.
Right.
So kind of crazy.
And you hear people say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he says it all the time when there's a new person at the table. He always says, everybody always wants to bluff me. So they have that story. I mean, he knows it. 100% knows it.
He benefits from it on the balance. Yeah. I am positive. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Well, Laura, we try to keep it between an hour and a half and an hour. So I don't have any further questions. I'm going to open it up to Doug, Barry, and Karen down below. If you guys have a question, just go ahead and request, and if a question or a comment, you're more than welcome to come up and ask Laura anything you want. I see no requests. So, Laura, we are going to bid you adieu and thank you so much.
Sounds good. Nice talking with you all.
You too, and I hope to see you at the WPT, and good luck.
We'll see you out there, Laura. And
yeah, ping me.
Yeah, and thanks, Barry, for joining, and Karen, and everybody else, Doug, and everybody else that popped in, and anybody that's listening to this later on. Have a great day, everybody.
It was really fun talking with you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, you guys, for joining us.